الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. اللهم لعن قتلة أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: فذلكم الله ربكم الحق فماذا بعد الحق إلا الضلال فأنى تصرفون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. For that is Allah your Lord, the truth, and what can be beyond truth except error? So how are you averted? صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Last night I mentioned the hadith حق وباطل ولكل أهل. That there is haqq, there is what is right, and then there is what is wrong. And each one has its adherents. There's no in between. There's nothing that you could sit there and say that could possibly be a second truth. For example, when you're taking a multiple choice examination, you're given, say, 4 options. You're given A, B, C, and D. One of the options is absolutely wrong. There's no chance that this could possibly be okay. So in your head, this is usually put there for the people that have been winging it the whole way. You know, they'll fail straight away. They'll answer that, they're gone. The other 2 options appear to be true-like, but they're missing. They're not consistent with what is completely true. For example, if they write, for example, the square root of 25. One answer says 5. One answer says 6. Okay? One answer says minus 5. And one answer says plus or minus 5. So you know the 6 is completely wrong. That's already lost a few people. Then there'll be those that will pick the 5, and then there'll be those that pick the minus 5. But the ones that are diligent and have been listening the whole year, they pick the plus or minus 5. They know that is the answer, and that is the complete answer. Nothing is missing. So if I was to give you this kind of a test and give these choices, if someone says, where do I find the source of truth? I would give you the options, but only one option would be absolute and correct. Then Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Before I get to this, we need to understand, how do we find out who the truthful are? Who are the ones that are the rightful, the ones in the right? Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, لا يعرف الحق بالرجال. لا يعرف الحق بالرجال. And this is a very big problem, that truth is not known through men. The biggest problem we have with people is they worship people. And when you mention something, they said, oh, Sheikh so-and-so said this, or Sayyid so-and-so said that. And you say, but Ali ibn Abi Talib says this. One man who used to be a Sufi and then later returned to the righteous path, he said that when I was a Sufi, he said, I read a hadith on Ja'far ibn Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. that was contradictory to what I used to follow. And he said, in my heart, I had something for Ja'far. Like in my heart, I felt when you say I had something for him, I had a sort of hatred towards him. Why? Because it's contrary to what the other loves that he has in his life say. Do you understand what I mean? So something is not known through men. Al-Haq, as Amir al-Mu'minin says, لا يعرف الحق بالرجال وإنما تعرف الرجال بالحق. You want to know the rightful? You want to know who they are? You know by what is right. Which person fits this persona? Al-Harith al-Hamadani came up to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he was questioning him about the state of confusion between the believers. So a lot of people come up and say, why are the believers, they're not all together, they're not all united. You have those people, there's this guy, and he said, some of them, they're excessive in your love. They're excessive in the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib. When he says they're excessive, this means that they worship, they deify the Imam, they make the Imam into some kind of a god. And then he said some of them, he said, are the extreme opposite. Those ones, whenever you mention a quality of Imam Ali, they go, takhanta. Where did you get this hadith from? The two extremes, each are polarized in one direction. Don't worry, they're not coming for anyone. Each are polarized in either direction, and each think in certain ways. Even though when I read in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal always talks about the medium people, the middle people. What is middle and what is not? The problem is a lot of people know what is the truth. And they know what is right. Yet they sit there and they ignore what is right. They apply it where they want to apply it, where it fits to be necessary. And this is why you have these different extremes. You have these extremes based on if I like someone. For example, if someone tells me so-and-so said a statement. So I don't want to mention anybody by name, just put it in your head. So-and-so mentions a statement. If I see that this statement is contrary, if it concurs, if it agrees with what's in the Quran, if it agrees with what the narrations say, an Rasulullah wa an Ahlul Bayt, alayhim afdal as-salatu was-salam, then I accept it. But if I get a statement that contradicts what they say, totally goes against what they say, and I'm not talking about just one random hadith, I'm talking about this, like when you see a lot of hadith, many hadith, there's tawatur, there's so many narrations that say something and then someone says something contrary to it. This is where question marks arise. The problem isn't that there is so much confusion. The problem is that when it comes to this, it's funny enough, I was having my iftar and one of my children asked me, he said, what happens to the unbelievers when they die? Alaykum as-salam. And I said, according to what God says, those that reject Him, the unbelievers, they go to hell. And then my child said, but what if they don't know? And I said to my child, Baba, how is it that they know where to get money? They know where to find food to eat. They know where to buy their clothes. They know to do everything, but when it comes to religion, they don't know. Really? How do people know everything around them? How is it they understand everything around them, but when it comes to religion, they somehow don't know? Oh, I didn't know we had to do this. Amir al-Mu'minin says, ما أكثر من يعترف بالحق ولا يطيعه. Everyone knows the truth. Even Pharaoh knew the truth. Even the companions of the Prophet that were around the Prophet and turned on their heels, they knew the truth. Even Iblis, he knew the truth. And he has no doubt in the truth. He knows what the truth is. You know, like the father that tells his sons to get up and pray but doesn't pray. Why do you think he encourages his children? Almost Allah. You know, it's a bit late for me, but you get up and pray. Because they know the truth. That's why even if you see some parents that smoke, they don't like to see their children smoking. Because they understand the harmful ways. And they don't. If they didn't understand it was harmful, they would say to their kid, light up, son. You know, back in the old days, that's how it was. Back in the old days, some people didn't know it was that harmful. Some did, some didn't. You know, in the Middle East, they still don't know for some reason. I don't know why. They smoke, the windows are closed, everyone gets suffocated, and they live happily ever after. The thing is, people know about the truth, but they do not obey the truth. And this is where they go astray. Allah Azza wa Jal says about these people, about knowing inside, He says, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ ظُلْمًا وَعُلُوًّا وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا. They reject it. وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ. They reject what they're told is the truth, but inside they know it's the truth. Why? He mentions two terms here. The first one he says dhulman, and the second one he says uluwan. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions two things. Dhulm, because they're unjust, and uluwan because they're too haughty, they're too proud. You ever noticed the people that don't want to turn because they go, I've got a lot to lose? A lot of people don't want to turn because they've got a lot to lose. They could lose their status, they could lose their family, and they don't realize how many lost more than that. What do you think we're here commemorating? We're commemorating someone's martyrdom, who the heavens and the earth and everything was created because of him. This is whose martyrdom was. Everything was created because of Rasulullah and his immaculate progeny. Everything. Yet if you take a look at their lives, just small decisions that they could have made could have prolonged their lives. But these small decisions would not have made them acquire the status that we respect them for today. Look at all the palaces that were built by their enemies and their status. And those that stood firm by the truth. If you take a look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, how many millions make a pilgrimage to his shrine? And right now, how many millions travel in all the shrines on this day? And Muawiyah's burial ground, no one needs an introduction to what takes place there. They've locked it off. Do you know why they lock off Muawiyah's grave? Because people used to go there and urinate and defecate and whatever else, any ghastly bodily fluids, they'll throw them there. Why? Because it's Muawiyah. They know these blackened pages of history that he has left. The years that he ruled and sat in the palaces in Damascus, they're all gone. And his stances are apparent now. As for Amir al-Mu'mineen, you can see what his stance has left with those that have gathered to commemorate his martyrdom. Now the question is, why all these people that know, they don't react? They don't obey. And this is where the problem comes in. You can know the truth or not act upon the truth. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says about these people in the Khutbah al-Shaqshaqiyya, when he mentions that, have they not heard the verse about the hereafter being for the righteous? And he says, no, they have heard this verse and they understand this verse. And then he says, وَلَكِنَّهُمْ حَلِيَةَ الدُّنْيَا فِي أَعْيُنِهِمْ. See, when we say, because زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ, Allah, when I want to explain what this means, that Allah Azza wa Jal says in this world is, when he says زُيِّنَ, it's like, its adornments, and it embellishes itself. The way it looks towards you, the way you look at this world, it's very decorative. It's very nice. Dunya's nice. People love dunya. You go outside, it's nice. You know, a guy goes outside, sees an attractive woman, he says, wow, this is beautiful. This is what I want. Sees a nice house, this is what I want. Nice car, this is what I want. And it affects them. And they can't get out of this. They can't get this out of their head. The way it appeals to them. And this is what happens. They cannot be patient. Just as you look today, cash is better than credit. Someone pays cash, they always give him a better price because it's in their hand. It's tangible. They can feel it. They cannot wait for what's been promised. They cannot wait for that taste. Even like, you won't get an understanding of the reward of patience in Shahr Ramadan. You fast, and in the end you eat, but you feel that you achieved something at the very end. This is a small example of what you'll feel like. But when it comes to finding who to follow and who's the truthful, I'm placing everything in their hands. If I had a traffic infringement, just a traffic infringement, and I wanted to seek legal advice, I wouldn't, and I wanted, you know, when I say it was a traffic infringement, I wanted to seek legal advice. I wouldn't just go to, and if I could afford the legal advice, طبعا, I wouldn't just go seek legal aid. And people with criminal matters, they go to legal aid, it's just like saying, please lock me up. So when you look for something or someone that is qualified. If you need this legal aid, be it a criminal matter or be it just a measly traffic offence, even when it comes to making a purchase, everything we do, we examine properly because we are putting a big investment in. We're putting our money into this. Why is it when it comes to our eternity? And think about it. How long have I got to live? How long do you think you've got to live? May Allah prolong your lives, but honestly, how long do you think? In Shahr Ramadan, we had, honestly, when we mentioned about 2 weeks ago, when there was a youth that passed into God's mercy. A youth, someone that would have probably had ambition to live. But his time had come. It was time for him to return to his Lord. But what do I do? Do I wait for that moment to suddenly come along? Or do I act upon it now? So who do I look for as a guide? Some people, it's like the blind leading the blind. You know, you just see him, he's following someone that has no idea. He's got no idea, he follows someone that has no idea. Absolutely nothing. Allah Azza wa Jal firstly warns us, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Do not take the devil as a guide for you. Do not take this as a way for you to follow. So how do I know who are the rightful? Allah says in the Quran, Azza wa Jal, إِنَّ رَبَّكَ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ مَنْ يَضِلُّ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. So firstly, for me to know who are the rightful, and who are the guided, and who are the truthful, I know the only one that can let me know this is Allah Azza wa Jal. It's not something that's picked by humanity. It's not something that I feel sentimental value towards. You know, I like this guy, I'm going to become a Muslim because of him. No. This is not how Islam works. This is not how religion. If this is how religion works, then that's why when you get into these, you see these debates. There's one debate that I saw between Ahmed Deedat and I can't remember the other guy, McDowell, I think the other guy's surname was. Yeah, McDowell. And at the end of it, like Ahmed Deedat had put this guy through he'd put him through a meat processor. After he had finished, the guy gets up lastly and he goes, through Jesus I learnt to love. I said, are you serious, mate? My father taught me to love. My mother taught me to love. People around me taught me to love. So did I take them as God's only son? And it's illogical, the argument you're putting forward. Did God tell you In the Bible, does God say anywhere in the Bible that you believe in, is there anywhere that's mentioned that Jesus is God? In all 27 books, is there one mention that Jesus is God? There's none. Not even one. Not one mention that Jesus is God. Then how do you accept this? Not one mention. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that selects who are guided and who to follow. It's not a free-for-all. In fact, in the Quran it says, وَوَهَبْنَا. Allah Azza wa Jal bestows this upon someone. He grants this to someone. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. When he talks about Ibrahim, Al-Khalil alayhi wa ala nabina wa alihi afdal as-salatu was-salam. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ كُلًّا هَدَيْنَا. كُلًّا هَدَيْنَا. That both of them we guided. In other words, both of them are these ones that we said, وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. These are people that you follow. Ishaq and Yaqub. And then he says, وَنُوحًا هَدَيْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِ. Nuh, before them, we guided. He's someone that you follow. وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ وَأَيُّوبَ وَيُوسُفَ وَمُوسَى وَهَارُونَ كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So firstly, he's giving you an idea that Allah Azza wa Jal says, these are the ones that are rightful, they are guided. Why? Because they are muhsineen, they are doers of good. It's not a free-for-all. It's not anyone that takes a position, says, listen, I am now the Khalif of the Muslimin, so call me Amir al-Mu'mineen. If it was like that, that means whoever overcomes is the one you just accept. So who is more guided? The one that needs guidance or the one that guides? The problem with the Muslims, what made them go astray, is they followed whoever was in power. Even up to today. When you're sitting and you're questioning, when you go to the Hajj, you question someone when you're taking, back in the days when they used to chase people for taking photos. I don't think they still do this. It's because everyone's got phones now. But when you used to take photos, they say, you can't take a photo. And you say, under what basis? He said, by order of the king. And you say, how do you accept what the king says? He says, Ana abdun ma'mur wa ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. Obey Allah and His Messenger and those that have been vested with this authority. And they say, He is ulul amr. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So these people that have been vested with His authority is who has rulership. Taban, this doesn't always apply. If it was a Shia king, they wouldn't accept it. It's only accepted when it's one of this. So anyway, these people that did take the power, if you read their history, you honestly sit and wonder. This is why when you think, how is it Allah will punish? These people get punished because they deserve to be punished. When you read in Surah Abasa, it says, فَأَنْبَتْنَا فِيهَا حَبًّا وَعِنَبًا وَقَضْبًا وَزَيْتُونًا وَنَخْلًا وَحَدَائِقَ غُلْبًا وَفَاكِهَةً وَأَبًّا. This, you read this is a narration that's present. The one that is guided is supposed to be able to explain what the book means, to understand the book of God. So he's sitting there thinking, all right, habba, this is grain, anaba, waqadba, these are all related to what we eat, zaytun. And then he gets to the very end and says, وَفَاكِهَةً وَأَبَّا. He says, all right, fakiha is fruit, well, what's abba? So they ask him, this is the second Khalif, the one that took power, Umar ibn al-Khattab. They ask him, what is abba? There was plenty of reactions that he had. One of them says, مَا شَأْنُكَ بِهَذَا السُّؤَالِ. Why are you asking such a question? In another one he says, نُهِينَ عَنِ التَّعَمُّقِ وَالتَّكَلُّفِ. Nuhina, we're not allowed to go too deep into these verses. If this was depth for him, and the very next verse explains what it means. The very next verse says, مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ. that the fruit is for you, the abba is for your animals. An'am, what's an'am? When you hear the word an'am, it speaks about animals that graze, be it a sheep, a cow, a camel, those that eat from the earth. So what do they eat? They eat foliage. They eat grass. So even if he could have just read the next verse and saved himself from this humiliation that we are reading 1,300 years later or 400 years later and plus. Even when it came to jurisprudence, he had no idea. The people that follow him. This is why when someone says, why do people get punished? This is why they get punished. When a man comes up to him and says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, as he liked to be referred to. He said, I have woken up in the state of janaba and there is no water for me to perform wudu. This is fiqh. And I'm sure not a single person here, I'll say 99% of the people here that are mutakallifin, that have gone through bulugh, okay, will know the answer for this. There is no water, you're in the state of janaba. What do? Umar ibn Khattab in this situation said to him, don't pray. I'm serious. You read the narration. He said, don't pray. So then this man has been told not to pray. Salman al-Muhammadi sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad mentions to him what about the verse with regard to tayammum. And then he says, Attaqillah ya Salman. Fear God. And this wasn't, when we sit and laugh at this, when he said this, people were in a state of fear. This could mean that is your life. Your life. This is the position he was in. He was ruling the Muslim world. When he says fear God, it means the next word you say could be the last word you ever say again. They once bring a woman, this is with regard to jurisprudence, if this is the person that people follow to be guided, they bring a woman to him and they say that this woman, and she is mad. When I say she is mad, and she's a lunatic, she's insane. She's not someone that understands. She's not rational, she's not coherent, she doesn't understand what's going on. And they say this woman has committed adultery. And they bring their witnesses. And then Omar says, all right, stone her. Before we even look at religious ruling, logically, anyone that does not comprehend what they are doing, can you punish them for what they do? If you see, if there is a child comes with, there's a little fire and he gets some petrol and throws it on the fire. And the child's about 3 years old. Would you say, oh my God, what are you doing with this combustible liquid? Don't you know it's inflammable? You know? Is that what, you won't say this, you'll know the child does not know. The child has no idea what they are doing. In this case, this woman was about to be stoned, so they came to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the real Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And they prevented this through his ruling. So this person does not understand to interpret basic verses in the Quran. Forget if he gets to the ones that really throw people around the block. He does not know jurisprudential law. And then I follow him. How can I answer my Lord on the Day of Judgment? How can I stand before my God on the Day of Judgment and say, you know what, I did what it was required? You cannot, you have no excuse for this. There's no way for you to be saved in this situation. And that's why you find a conflict when it comes to all their imams of their madhab. And they slander each other. And they smash each other. But as for our imams, there is no conflict with what they say. It could be either they've studied the one before's teaching so they don't make any mistakes, or it could be from one source, one true source that has no conflict. And this is the only way. Because some of these Imams were killed and those that succeeded them had not reached the age of puberty yet and were able to answer laws according to historical documents that are not things that we have written, but have been written by the ones that opposed us. They give this pure knowledge, they give this unadulterated knowledge. This is where we go to the introductory verse. The introductory verse, where I mentioned فَذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمُ الْحَقِّ. Okay? For that is Allah, your Lord, the truth. Then it says, فَمَاذَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا الضَّلَالِ. So whatever's beyond truth is what? False. Imagine you have a bullseye, a target, and I tell you, you have to shoot and hit the target. Anything other than the target is what? Is a miss. That's it. There's only one target. There's only one truth. Anything else is a miss. And this is why you'll find when it comes to truth. Remember those that were present several months ago when we gave the discussion about dhulumat and nur. We said dhulumat is a plural. Darkness is a plural. Amma nur is what? It's a singular. It's a singular. Because it's one. The truth is a singular. And what's dalal? And anything that takes you away, that brings you astray, is many paths. So even when I go back to our multiple choice example, if I tell you, who am I supposed to follow? If one answer says A, Ahlul Bayt, the second one says B, Quran, the third says C, Sahaba, and the fourth says Quran and Ahlul Bayt. There's only one answer. I can't pick and choose what I want except what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam left for us. He left the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. This is what he left for you to acquire this. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi salamu alayhi says, ما اختلفت دعوتان إلا كانت إحداهما ضلالة. Notice the words, they're very important. He says if there's two people that are claiming something, could be two people arguing, two people propagating, two people fighting, two flags that have been drawn against each other. Amir al-Mu'mineen does not say that one of them is right and one of them is wrong. He doesn't say that. Why? There is a possibility that they can both be wrong. You know, when you sit there and you watch a battle take place, if you were present at the time of World War II, Hitler is fighting Stalin. Who's the haq there? No one's going to answer. They've both blackened history. Okay? You see a war that takes place between Bush and Saddam. Who's the haq there? No one's going to answer. Why? Because they're both dalal. So there is that possibility that both could be astray. Is there a possibility that both could be haq? This is what the other schools of thought say. Ashabi kan nujum. My companions are like the stars. Whoever you follow, you will be guided. So when you ask them, in the case of Khalid ibn al-Walid killing Malik ibn Nuwayra and raping his wife on the same night, this is what he did. He murdered him and raped his wife on the same night. You say, so which one is the guided? The victim or the killer and the rapist? Or both? So thus, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that one of them has to be astray, or both, but one at least. You can't have two that are right. And this is what happened with Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. It's a sour pill that you swallow to follow Amir al-Mu'mineen. Everyone inherits from him this oppression. We inherit from Amir al-Mu'mineen this oppression. That you are oppressed at the time. We are living honestly, but we are living good. At the time during Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam, you think about this honestly. You know, our ulama today, people, mu'azzazin mukarramin, people respect them. Ja'far ibn Muhammad salawatullah alayh, would be dragged out of his bed in the middle of the night. Without any shoes on, he'd be dragged. This is the Imam. And taken to a drunkard like Mansur al-Dawaniki to amuse him. Musa ibn Ja'far lived for nights without seeing the sunlight. From prison to prison. And not in a way where you think, when people think of prison, you think about this Western prison you live in. No, these things were dungeons. The dungeons that are unheard of. What took place in these places. The people at the time of Musa ibn Ja'far salawatullah alayh, they were more willing to be called the son of adultery than to be called a Turabi or a Rafidi. They were afraid. Because if you were called a Shia, if someone recognized you as a Shia, that was the end. You were taken, you were killed, you were slaughtered just for this. But this is the haqq, and this is the cost that the haqq comes upon. This is the only thing that the right comes upon. And this is why those that opted to take other than the right, they did so. Why? They did so because they wanted this world. They attached themselves to this world. So they didn't wait the little period of time until the very end. You take a look at the way they died. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Take for example Harun al-Abbasi. They say his last words when he was looking around, he said, Ya laytani iskafi. This is what he said. He said, I wish I was a Qabla. Imagine a king that ruled almost 50 nations says, I wish I was a Qabla. Why? Because he knew what was going to come to him when it's finished. And Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, his last words is he looked to the corner of the room and he said, Assalamu alaykum ya Rusul Rabbi, to the angels, لِمِثْلِ هَذَا فَلْيَعْمَلِ الْعَامِلُونَ. Someone with a clear conscience that has already opted and chosen the hereafter. And thus you will find those that did the same, this is the way they met with their Lord. They were happy to finish. They had done the time, and that's why when God says, فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضَى نَحْبًا, because they have fulfilled this covenant that they have done with Allah. Inshallah, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal on these nights. And I please have a request from all of you that you do supplication for your Imam, your master, because this is the best dua you can do. Supplicate for your Imam, because then he will supplicate for you on this night. Everything you supplicate for your Imam before you supplicate for anything else. So before you do any dua, any amal, do it in the name and reward your Imam, Sahib al-Amr wa Zaman, because then he will supplicate for you and Allah Azza wa Jal will not reject the dua that comes from your master. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salli Allahumma ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.